Am I the idiot for giving my son my mother's necklace? I lost my parents when I was very young and have spent decades recovering from the trauma. One coping mechanism I had was holding on to all of their things. My parents were well off, and I inherited almost all of their possessions and assets. My therapist and I have talked about why I feel the need to cling to these things that have no use to me, and I've said that I might be open to giving some of their things to someone who would use and treasure them. I didn't have a concrete plan or timeline for doing so though. My mother owned a pearl necklace that was passed down from mother to daughter for generations. My great-great-grandmother brought it with her to America when her family fled Germany, so obviously it has immense sentimental value. My mother didn't have a daughter, so the necklace, like everything else, has been sitting in my house for decades unworn. So, onto my son. He is very into style and fashion. He wears lots of different types of outfits. He'll wear a suit and tie to a work function and then a miniskirt and mesh shirt to go clubbing with his friends. He wears jewelry sometimes and owns a few elegant, classy pieces, no pearls though. A few months ago my son was showing me an all-white suit he bought to wear to a friend's party. It was a really nice suit. All of a sudden I was struck with the idea that my mother's pearls would look great with that suit. So I went and got them. My son became very emotional, and I decided that he should have the pearls to keep. I don't wear necklaces, but he does. I think my mother would want him to have the pearls. When I talked to my therapist about this, she said I made a huge step forward in processing my grief. Now that I've made that first step, it feels a lot more doable to go through my parents' other things. I feel good about my decision. My cousin, mom's niece, called me today, livid. She said I shouldn't have given the pearls to my son. She said if they went to anyone, they should go to her or her sister. She claims that they've now left the family. I don't really understand her perspective. I get that the pearls are supposed to go from mother to daughter, not father to son. But that chain was already broken when my mom died without a daughter. I don't see how nice is better than grandson in this scenario. Still, my cousin is a really nice person, so there must be something I'm not getting. Is this like a woman thing? Can a woman explain why I might be an idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Not the idiot. I almost cried reading this. I thought it was really sweet. I don't understand why your son having them means they aren't still in the family. I say they are. Comment 2. As a woman, I can firmly say. Not the idiot. They were passed down in your family. She's a branch family, there is nothing entitling her or her daughter to the pearls. Just make sure your son understands the value and passes them on to one of his kids. Now for the update. Several people suggested getting the pearls rest-strung. My son did take them to a jeweler prior to wearing them to the party because he assumed the silk would be in poor shape after so many years. After reading all these comments I called to offer to have them rest-strung, but he already had. I insisted on reimbursing him, since a gift should be given in good quality. But this update is really about my cousin. We had lunch today and talked about everything. So, a little more backstory with that side of the family. My mother's brothers didn't approve of her decision to marry my father. They didn't go to the wedding, and my mother wasn't invited to my cousin's coming-of-age party. I was 5 at the time, so I don't remember it very well. But my mom was really upset and wrote a long letter to my cousin that she still has. She showed it to me. After that, my cousin stopped talking to her father for years. My mother's funeral was the first time they spoke after that, and he died a few years later. My cousin expressed guilt over not having any children and not passing on our heritage. She said that she's worried everything her father thought would happen to our family, that we have assimilated too much. Being passed over for the pearls, which she was never truly in line for, but I didn't want to be pedantic, felt like a punishment to her. Now they belong to someone outside of the tribe, and she's worried the history of them, the story of what our ancestors went through, will eventually be lost to time. We both expressed a lot of grief to each other, and I think we gave each other some much-needed catharsis. But without a doubt, her objections weren't based in greed or prejudice, just sadness and fear. She said she wouldn't bring up the pearls again, as it's a done thing now. I offered her some other pieces of my mother's I thought she might like, and she said she needed to think about it. We parted on good terms, even laughing about how it's good we hashed this out now, before we all get wasted together in a couple of weeks. A lot of people thought my cousin was a bad person based on my previous post, and I feel terrible about that. She really isn't. She's just grieving. I think that's everything, but if I forgot to address something you can ask about it in the comments. Oh, and I did give the earrings to my daughter as well as my dad's watch to my second son, his class ring to my third, cufflinks, heirloom, to my fourth, and my mom's bracelet she got the day I was born to my youngest. So everyone got something. Comment 1. You made absolutely the right choice with the necklace, evidenced by the care your son immediately put into preserving the piece. Many people wouldn't even have thought about having the integrity of a jewelry item checked before wearing it. I'm supposed to get my grandfather's watch. You can bet it's going to be restored and all parts serviced before I wear it. Well done for preserving family tradition in keeping with a modern era. Comment 2. This is so sad but at the same time good. I wish you and your family luck, and hopefully, you and your cousin will be able to move past this. May I suggest maybe seeking a professional to talk about those issues? If they haven't had therapy, maybe it can help her face her grief and fear. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot because I let my son ask my stepson for help when cooking for me? Yesterday I was exhausted. I am 3 weeks from my due date, but my maternity leave doesn't start for another week. I came home and sat down on the couch and didn't want to get up for any reason. My son, 7, asked me to play with him, but I said I didn't have any energy. He asked if I was hungry, and truthfully I was, so I said yes, but I'm too tired to cook. My son offered to make me something to eat. I thanked him and told him to ask my husband to watch him in the kitchen, because he's too young to use kitchen appliances on his own. He came back with my stepson, 13, saying that my husband was busy and asked if his stepbrother could supervise him instead. I said okay. My stepson asked if I was sick, and I said I was just run down but would be okay. They made me some veggies and rice. I'm unsure how much each kid did, and I thought all was well. I felt much better after eating and was able to clean the kitchen. That night my husband asked me why I asked his son to make me something to eat. I said I didn't, he was just watching my son. My husband said my stepson ended up doing almost everything for him, because he was worried he would get hurt, and my stepson was in the middle of a school assignment when my son interrupted him. I said I didn't know that he was busy. He didn't tell me that. He didn't have to help my son when he asked. My husband said my son told my stepson I was sick, and that's why he stopped his assignments, and then he didn't want to be rude. I ended up snapping at him that maybe he should have come out to check on me himself when my son went to ask him for help. He said that has nothing to do with the situation and, "My kid isn't your servant." I was so pissed and told him to frick off and not talk to me the rest of the weekend. I made pancakes for breakfast. My husband hates pancakes, for myself and the boys, but he just made himself an omelet and didn't say anything. The thing is, my stepson must have said something to him, or he wouldn't have even known they cooked for me. So my stepson must honestly feel wrong. Am I crazy? Was I unreasonable to let my son ask my stepson for help? I feel like I'm in the twilight zone. Now for a few comments before the update. Not the idiot. I can understand why your younger son said you were sick. He probably thought you being run down and exhausted was you feeling unwell. What I would recommend is talking to your stepson and letting him know that you found out he did almost all the cooking and really thank him for helping you when you needed it. Let him know he is appreciated and make sure he's okay. Comment 2. Not the idiot. If your husband, the man who got you pregnant, was so damned concerned about his 13-year-old having his homework interrupted, then your husband could have taken a few minutes to make you a damned omelet. Or something. Because it sounds like he can prepare food for himself. It sounds like the children, at least, care for you. Now for the update. Thanks to everyone who commented on my post. I was so exhausted all weekend, and the post's comments gave me something to read when I couldn't sleep but was too tired to move. I took several people's advice and spoke to my stepson. I actually took him out for brunch on Sunday. I asked him how he was feeling about everything and the new baby. My stepson said he was kind of nervous to meet the baby, because he's never lived with a baby before and doesn't know what they like. He said his stepbrother was easy to make friends with, because he likes games and toys. But babies can't play most games or with any of his toys, so how will he make the baby like him? I told him that the baby will love him, because he's going to be his older brother, so the baby will grow up with him as a role model. He was reassured by this. I also thanked him for helping me when I was overwhelmed. I told him he can always come to me for help when he is overwhelmed with anything. He ended up telling me that he is nervous about the 8th grade. We have a high school program in our district. You need high grades to qualify for that. My husband wants him to get in, and it's pretty much dependent on his school performance next year. We talked about his nervousness and agreed we would talk about it more in the future as well. I'm really glad we had our talk, and it was in large part because of all of your encouragement. So thanks again. Comment 1. Open and honest communication is always going to help. The key is making sure to use it while you have the energy because, as you well know, there will be times when you just need to shut down for a while. Glad you sorted things out with your stepson. I highly recommend one-on-one time with each kid like this as they grow up. It really makes them feel heard. Next step, sort things out with your husband. Comment 2. Others have commented on whether you've talked to your husband about how shitty he was to you, as they should. But is he putting too much pressure on his son? Does your stepson even want to go to that other school? Grades and best schools aren't everything. He's such a kind and caring boy. I'd hate for him to suffer because of your husband's demands. Try to protect him, please. Now, for the next story. Would I be the idiot if I didn't get my sister a wedding gift? Okay, so I, male 25, am a wedding planner, so when my sister, female 32, announced she was getting married, most of our family, including her included, assumed I'd help plan it for her. I initially didn't really want to, as her wedding is right in the middle of busy season, so I'd miss out on gigs that would pay, but then I decided that she's my sister, and this would be a good wedding gift and would just help with the wedding stress. She was so happy when I agreed, and we started going over her plans and themes. I found some venues and we went to look at them. I took care of all of the catering, so all she had to do was taste test and pick. I was also able to use my connections to get her special deals and stuff like that. At first it was pretty smooth, but as time went on it just got more and more stressful. She wouldn't communicate with anyone and almost got her photographer to quit. I had to convince him to stay. She'd constantly change her mind on things and then get mad they were changed, as I should have known she was just being indecisive and that I should have stuck with the first option. While I was setting up the registry, she told me I could have first dibs on what gift I was getting her. I looked at her confused and said that my help planning was my gift. She then said that a lot of families helped out and they are still getting gifts. I told her that other family members helped move furniture or lend me their car to pick up supplies. I was doing most of the work and was missing out on actually getting paid helping her. She said she's grateful for my help, but that this wouldn't really constitute a gift unless I was paying for things like her dress or the venue. And she said it didn't matter when I brought up that my connections have literally saved her thousands when you add them up. She's now calling me cheap and is getting our family involved. I don't know what she told them, they won't tell me. But they keep saying how selfish I am to make my sister's big day all about me. If I could afford it, I wouldn't mind getting her something. But the cheapest thing in the registry is almost $200 and I'm not well off. Plus my loss of income, one can't afford something like that run. I want to support her, but I don't think I'm gonna get her a gift. Would I be the idiot if I didn't? There's no update for this story, so here's the comments. Not the idiot. Make an itemized bill for her outlining the hours you've spent, the income you've lost by turning down paid gigs, and the savings you've got her through your contacts. Print the final total in big, bold numbers, then print, gifted, in red letters across the front. Frame it and put it on a stand at the gift table at her wedding so everyone can see how generous you've been. Anyone who tries to argue that you're being selfish tells them to read it out loud. If they accuse you of being petty, tell them it would have been necessary if it had been appreciated by the bride and themselves. Comment 2. Not the idiot. While I would have maybe been clear up front that getting your services for free was the gift, your sister's level of entitlement is ridiculous. Frankly, I'd hand your sister a bill for the work you did that highlights the money you saved her with your industry discounts, and say either she can pay you and you'll get her something off the registry, or this and your continued free labor can be the gift. Helping out is when someone comes over to make favors, helps transport items, or decorate. You are providing a service and coordinating an entire event for her.